Today, my goal is to help you weaponize your mind to play better golf than you ever thought possible. Jack Nicklaus once said the game of golf is 90% mental and only 10% physical. Steve Elkington said something similar. He said that your mind is your greatest weapon, but it's also your Achilles heel. And if you've been playing golf for any amount of time, chances are you know exactly what I mean. This thing can sabotage your round. Today, my goal is to help you weaponize your mind to help you play better than you ever thought possible. Think about it. Most of us spend tons of time on the driving range, at the short game area, but we neglect mental training at all. Then wonder why we don't play better. But as Jack said, the mental part is 90% of the battle to playing your best golf. Golf is mentally challenging for 3 reasons. First of all, it's an individual sport. If things go bad, you can't blame your teammate. It's all on you. Second, you have to battle the golf course, your competition, and the weather. Finally, golf takes a long time. 4 to 6 hours is a long time to stay mentally focused. Luckily, the brain is malleable, meaning you can train and upgrade it for success, no matter how old you are or how long you've been playing this crazy, stupid, awesome game. And you know what? I'm proof. I used to have the worst mental game. I used to constantly berate my performance, get down on myself, have terrible body language, and pout like Sergio Garcia. But after a lot of mental training and hard work, I have been able to turn the mental game, which used to be the worst part of my golf game, into one of my best. This training has helped me become a +2 handicap and one of the top-rated Arizona amateur golfers. Today, I want to share 11 of those mental game tips that have helped me so you can become a wicked smart golfer. All right, so these tips are based on my book, Wicked Smart Golf, where I share 111 ways to help you play better without changing your swing. Now, the mental game to me is pillar number 1 of becoming a wicked smart golfer and really taking your game to the next level. Tip number 1 is simple. Focus on what you want. So many golfers think about what they don't want on the golf course. They don't want to hit it in the water. They don't want to hit it in the bunker. They don't want to miss that putt. But here's the problem. The mind does not understand negatives, meaning when you say don't hit it in the water, your mind is hearing hit it in the water, miss this putt. This is why it's so important to be intentional with what you want. Instead of saying don't hit it in the water, think about that exact area on the green you want to focus on. Instead of saying don't miss this putt, focus on where you want the ball to go in the hole. Your mind is so powerful, but you need to be very intentional with where you put your focus on, because the more you do, the more likely you are to make that happen. Now, of course, just because you don't think about the water doesn't mean you're never going to hit it in the water again or never miss a short putt, but you're setting yourself up for success. Mental tip number 2, stop caring about the first tee shot. So many of us put so much worth into that first tee shot. A lot of us think that's going to really dictate how the round goes. Let me tell you right now, as a scratch golfer who's competed in hundreds of days of tournament golf, this is total BS. I hit great tee shots off the first hole and went on to play terrible and make a double bogey on that hole. Conversely, I've had horrible tee shots and went on to make birdies and pars and played great the rest of the round. The point is, the first shot is just that, one shot. Do not let it dictate your round, no matter how good or how bad it is. Once you hit that first tee shot, move on and spend all of your attention on that next shot. Quit dwelling on the past. The third tip is to keep breathing on the golf course. When we get nervous and we feel pressure, whether we're trying to win a $5 bet or we're winning the club championship or some USGA event, it's so easy for us to accidentally stop breathing. And a lot of times we take very shallow breaths, and when we do that, it is actually a signal to your mind that danger is looming. The problem is your mind doesn't realize that it's not real danger. You're just nervous because you're in a golf tournament. You don't actually have a real threat like a saber-toothed tiger coming to get you. But that is the power of your breath, and that's why it's so important to keep breathing. When I'm on the golf course, I am constantly reminding myself to take deep breaths throughout the day, throughout my pre-shot routine, and especially before big shots when I can really feel that I really want to hit a great shot or I need to make a good putt. Keep breathing so your mind does not go into that fight or flight mode. You want to make sure it's in a relaxed state so that way you're not tense and you're letting stress get the best of it. To get in the zone, you have to remain calm. It's not going to happen when you're flustered and worried and not breathing. So continue to breathe throughout the round. It is one of the simplest tips that can have a massive impact on your game. Tip number 4 is to make sure your body language is signaling strength. So many of us, when we start playing poorly, and I am so guilty of this in the past, if you could have seen my body language as a kid when I was going through junior golf and high school and college, it would have been awful. I was pouting, my shoulders were down, my head was down, I was getting internal, and I was beating myself up. Your body language has a direct impact on your mood and your thoughts. So that's why it's so important to control what you can on the golf course. And your body language is absolutely that. Even if you hit a bad shot, even if you miss a bad putt, your body language needs to send strength to your mind. You can do that by making sure your eyes are up. The guest I had on Wicked Smart Golf podcast, Scott Fawcett, talks about this a lot inside his program, Decade Golf. He says you need to keep your eyes on the horizon. He says that a lot of players, especially younger players or inexperienced golfers, tend to put their eyes down, which puts their shoulders down, and again, in a disempowering state. So make sure to keep your eyes up so you can set yourself up for success to hit a great shot on the next one. Mental tip number 5 is to watch your self-talk. Like body language, your self-talk has a direct impact on your mind. And if you're saying terrible things about yourself, I'm a bad putter, I just don't have it today, I can't catch a break, first of all, that's not going to help you play better golf. And again, this is something that I had to really overcome myself. Because I always thought that kind of shit-talking myself and really trying to motivate myself like that would make me play better. Newsflash, it does. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a cheerleader out there and congratulate yourself if you top one or shank one, but at the same time, your self-talk needs to be empowering. Your mind is listening to both internal and external dialogue all day, every day. And if you're constantly saying things like, I'm a bad putter, I'm a bad putter, I'm a bad putter, your mind will make that happen. So make sure your self-talk is empowering. In fact, I have a simple rule. If I wouldn't say it to a competitor, I don't say it to myself. I don't even think it to myself. That's why it's so important to choose your words carefully out there. Because if you start to say things over and over again with repetition and emotion, your mind will remember that and unfortunately take that on in your self-image. I want the best for you, so control what you can. Control your body language, control your self-talk. It's gonna have a massive impact on your mental game. Mental tip number 6 is simple. Be grateful. It's so easy to get mad and flustered out there, whether you're having a bad day or you're in a slump. But just remember, you're fortunate enough to be playing golf. You're fortunate enough to be in good enough shape. You're fortunate enough to have golf clubs, to have people that want to play with you, to have money to go out there and tee it up in this expensive game. I know it's kind of corny, but it can really have a big impact. Because a lot of times when I was trying to go pro and I was getting really frustrated at myself and I would just get so down and so negative, I would forget how grateful and how lucky I was to even be out there. So yes, it is a little corny, I will admit that, but I promise having an attitude of gratitude can make the difference in your mental game. Before we get to the next mental tip, make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what's the best piece of mental golf advice that you've received. Mental tip number 7 is to manage your emotions. Now, I'm not saying don't get mad. Look, I would be a hypocrite if I was telling you that I don't ever get mad and things are just zen out there. That's not the case. If I hit a terrible shot and I know I need to make a birdie to make the cut, or I just am playing poorly, sure, I get mad sometimes. But what I do different than what I used to do in the past is I don't let that one bad shot compound and affect the next one and the next one. So many golfers have one bad shot and they let that domino into 2 or 3 bad shots. This is why it's so important to get over your bad shots quickly. It's okay to lash out, let some emotion out. A lot of times, some of us really need that. Tiger Woods is a great example. He gets very mad after shots, but by the time that next shot is up, he is 100% focused on the next. There's a great quote that I found that Tiger said to his son, Charlie Woods. Son, I don't care how mad you get. Your head could blow off for all I care, just as long as you're 100% committed to the next shot. That next shot should be the most important shot in your life. It should be more important than breathing. Imagine if Tiger is your dad and he tells you that. I'm pretty sure that's going to stick for Charlie, and hopefully that sticks for you. So it's okay to let some emotions out. I'm not saying you should tomahawk golf clubs 50 yards and slam clubs and just turn into an asshole on the golf course. But at the same time, sometimes you need to let it out so that way it doesn't bubble up and turn into Chernobyl out there. But just don't let one bad shot domino into a bad hole or a bad 9 holes or a bad day of golf. Mental tip number 8 is to stay present. It's so easy to go back into the past or drift ahead into the future when you're on the golf course. A lot of times we like to look back mid-round and say, if I would have made that putt on 2, if I wouldn't have hit out of bounds on 5, I could, I should, I would be in a better situation. But you know what? The past is gone. You're not going to change it. As the author of Zen Golf said, the past is history, the future is a mystery. Being alive in this moment is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Now again, kind of corny, but also so true. How much better would your golf game be if you weren't constantly looking back and saying, I wish I would have done that on this hole. I wish I would have done this. Conversely, a lot of times our mind drift off to the future too, thinking like, if I can just keep swinging good, or if I don't screw this up, I can shoot my best, or if I par out, I'll shoot 89 and finally break 90. Whatever it is, a lot of times we let our thoughts drift either to the past or to the future, and that takes away from the present. So give it 100% focus on the shot at hand. Do not let your mind wander. A trick I learned from a sports psychologist is that anytime you feel your mind wandering to the past or to the future, is to wear a rubber band on your wrist and snap it every time you feel yourself drifting. This is a good way to snap back into reality and make sure you're in the present, focusing on the shot at hand. All right, mental tip number 9 is to train your mind to remember the good shots. There's a thing called negativity bias in our mind that basically wants us to remember negative events 10 times more than positive ones. You might be thinking, why is that? Again, the mind is a survival mechanism above all else. It is not here to make you happy and thrive in life. That's something you have to learn how to do. It wants you to survive above all else. So when you have bad shots, or if you have bad rounds, it's gonna make it easier to remember those because the mind is programmed to remember negativity. That's why it's up to you to remind yourself of all the good shots you've hit, of all the great rounds you've had, and how good of a player you are. One thing I like to do after every round is write down at least 3 to 5 great shots that I hit that day. I have a running doc that I do every single time. It takes a little bit of discipline, but I just know the power of remembering your great shots, because inevitably you're gonna go through a tough time in the future. You're gonna be going kind of a slump, and you need to look back on all the great shots you've hit. You go in your mental memory bank, a lot of times it's gonna be hard to find those because your mind is gonna remember all those bad shots a lot more than the good ones. So when you do have good shots, celebrate them. I'm not saying you need to be cocky or really conceited out there, but fist pump, get excited about it. And if you have them on camera, save those, watch those. This is a great way to reinforce your abilities as a player and to remind your mind that, hey, I got this. Even if I'm going through a tough time, more emotions you can, the better. Because when you have a lot of emotions, like Tiger, when he's fist pumping, when he's doing all these great things, that's actually gonna help remember events. A lot of times when we have high emotions, both negative or positive, will make it more of a memory seared into your mind. So that's why it's a good idea to celebrate those good shots as well. Mental tip number 10 is to adopt some sort of mental training. It is a game that's played on a 5-inch course, the distance between your ears. And you know what? The only way you're gonna actually develop a strong mental game is doing stuff off the golf course as well. Now, this could be meditation, it could be hypnotherapy, it could be affirmations, it could be writing in a journal, it could just be constantly walking around the house in the morning as part of your routine saying, I'm a great golfer. Whatever it is, it's important to train your mind for success. As Jack Nicklaus said, it's 90% of the battle. So that's why you need to spend a lot of time constantly reminding yourself that, hey, I'm a great golfer. Now, I really like meditation. I found a ton of benefits to this, and obviously it's worked great for players like Tiger Woods. Even Phil Mickelson adopted it later in his career. Having some sort of meditation or mindfulness routine each morning or every few days can really have a big impact on your golf game. What I also enjoy is hypnotherapy. I've done all kinds of self-hypnosis and had hypnotherapists on my podcast, Wicked Smart Golf. And it's amazing how it can retrain your subconscious to just think more effectively, to think positively, and to really, again, just set yourself up for success. Great thing about hypnotherapy is that you don't need to do it every single day to get results. I will link to a few resources down below, a blog article I wrote for a client, and some other tips that I like to use, but Primed Mind is a great app, and I'll also link to an interview that I did with a golf hypnotherapist as well. Final mental game tip for you, tip number 11, is to never give up. One of the biggest pet peeves to me when I'm playing in golf tournaments is when people quit. Now, unfortunately, a lot of guys even quit in the middle of tournaments. If it's a 1 or 2 day qualifier and they know they're not going to make it, they won't even show up that next day, or they might even quit in the middle of the round. Now, that's pathetic to me. But what I'm talking about is mentally quitting. A lot of times I see golfers, and again, I've done this myself in the past, we quit on ourselves. But you just never know what can happen. Think about if you quit after a few bad holes. What if you would have had 5 birdies on the back? Now, what if you would have had a hole in one? What if you would have just came out of your shell and played great golf? The point is, you never know what the future holds in your golf game. So that's why it's important to never mentally give up. I want you to be Tony Robbins positive throughout the day, so that way by the time that final putt drops on 18, you can at least say, hey, I gave it my all. Because there's nothing worse than having regret after the round because you know you mentally slipped up and you kind of gave up for a few shots or a few holes. Tiger Woods is a great example of this. Even if he is nowhere near the lead and he's struggling to make the cut, that guy is grinding on every single shot. That's the kind of attitude that winners have, and that's the kind of attitude I want you to adopt to play your best golf. Stay in the fight. You can't quit in the middle of the round and expect to play great golf. Remember, golf is all about what's going on up here just as much as your full swing, your iron game, your chipping, or your putting. You need to train your mind for success both on and off the golf course. Now, I'm confident these 11 mental game tips can absolutely help you start playing better golf without changing your swing. For more mental tips, again, make sure to check out my book, Wicked Smart Golf, on Amazon. It has 111 strategies to help you play better without changing your swing. Another mental game resource that I've been using lately and 100% recommend is called the Mental Golf Type. I did a video about it and I'll link to it in the cards above. But this is a unique system that teaches you how to use your personality to get in the zone and stay out of stress on the golf course. So make sure you click the link in the description to learn more about that now. Remember, the mind is malleable. You can train it for success no matter how old you are, no matter what kind of scar tissue your golf game has given you, you can improve. And that's what I want for you. So start weaponizing your mind and you will become a beast on the golf course. If you like this mental game video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I hope you have an epic day on the links.